from District 1 and District 3, and we're combining them since the issues that affect the BPU affected as a whole. So candidates will have 3 minutes to make opening remarks. So we will start with Bob Miley.
Thank you, Mr. Bland, and thank you for allowing me to participate. And I want to thank Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior, for another blessed day. You know, BPU has the most unique position in this community. By far, we are the lifeblood of all the agencies of this community. Irregardless if you have a skyscraper or a two-room house, General Motors, or mom and pop grocery store, one thing you must have: utilities, plain and simple. That's why it's important to know the value of the Board of your Public Utilities, its employees, staff, and board members. It's also important to realize that you're not here as a political entity. You must be a public servant. It goes far beyond paying your bills on time, adjust your payments, etc. The Board of Public Utilities is the lifeblood of this community. That's what I started with. Thank you.
Okay. Norm Scott.
Thank you all for coming out, and thank you for putting this forum on. And my name is Norman Scott. I'm a lifetime resident here, born and raised here, born in Bethany Hospital, and went to Wyandotte High School, attended this college, married, raised 3 kids, all right here in this town. The reason I ran, or the reason I'm running, is to basically give the average citizen a voice on this board. I'll govern with openness and honesty, and your concerns are my concerns. I'm only one voice on that board, but I will respond to your questions, and I welcome your suggestions. We must operate efficiently and help homeowners and business owners achieve the lowest rates possible with the best service possible. I chose to call Kansas City my home. I have worked in the construction industry for over 40 years. I retired in 2001. I'm a retired business agent from the Union of Operating Engineers. I am past chair of the Wyandotte Wyandotte United Methodist Church. And at this time, I'm chair of the Wyandotte County Democrats. Past president of Stony Point Hunter Glen Neighborhood Association, past chair of the trustees Grinner Chapel. I participated in the Katrina mission trip, and I'm a cross-line volunteer. We serve lunch there every month. I have never been asked to resign from any board. It's always been by choice. So that's basically my opening statement.
Okay. Thank you very much. Freddie?
Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank everyone for coming out. Thanks for being invited here. My name is Freddie Wilson. I'm running for BPU District 1. I've been here in Wyandotte County all my life. I'm 62 years old. I've been married over half of my life to my beautiful wife and serving wife, Shakita. And the reason I say serving, because she has served the United States Air Force for 27 years. She believes in doing her share, and so do I. I have been in business in Wyandotte County several times. I own a business now. We build and rehab houses, and people can have affordable rent. My lifetime term is to stay here and live here the rest of my life, even though my wife wants to go back to Missouri, where I met her, but I talked her into staying here. I like Wyandotte County. I'm running for this position. I guess we'll get down to that part of it later. But I'm running because I want to help and serve people, and I want to do the right thing. So, again, Freddie Wilson, BPU District 1. Thank you.
Okay. Chris?
Good evening, I'm Chris McCord, and, excuse me. Good evening, I'm Chris McCord, and I'm a candidate for the BPU Member-at-Large District 3. And I want to thank Merle and the other agencies that are having this forum for us tonight. A little bit about myself personally. I am a fourth generation. Apparently, you got to have a lot of time in this county to run for office because everybody here has been here for a long time. But I've served in the United States Army. I'm a graduate of Washington High School. I did attend KCK Community College and graduated from Kansas State University. And I've owned and operated my own business, McCord Appraisal, for over 30 years here in Wyandotte County. I've appraised a house for some of the people in this room. I've served on the board of Hillcrest Transitional Housing, which is a group that moves people from homelessness to self-sufficiency to make them productive members of society, and right now I'm the board chairman of that. I'm a member of the Downtown Kansas City, Kansas Rotary, the Piper Optimist Chamber. I've been married to my wife for 30 years. We have 2 children, Sam and Anna. Sam and his wife, Dana, live here in Kansas City, Kansas with our 2 grandsons. And our daughter, Anna, lives in Dallas, Texas, where she works. I believe that Wyandotte County's 3 most important assets are the Kansas City, Kansas Community College, Wyandotte County Lake, and the Board of Public Utilities. And that's the reason that I'm running. I'm seeking this because I believe it's vitally important that we keep local control of the public utility. The primary mission should be to provide reliable and affordable utility service to the customers while improving the overall quality of life in the city. It's my belief that the customer service can be improved, and I was heartened when Mayor Holland at the State of the City address stated that they were working with the KU Med Center to introduce some new best practices for improving their customer service, and I hope if I get elected to partner with them to try to improve the customer service. And I'd just like to say that if elected, I'm going to have a policy of talking to customers to find out what their ideas are for improving the utility, and then try to take those and implement them. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll turn to Chuck Slittler, who is with the Downtown Shareholders Association, and he will ask questions of the candidates.
We're going to start from my left to right, and is it Mr. McCord?
That's correct.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I heard that right, sir. Thank you. This question is for each of the candidates, answering in turn from my left to right. In what 2 specific areas or ways do you believe you can make a contribution by being on the BPU board?
I think one of the areas that I could help is with improving customer service. And when I say customer service, I'm not just talking about the people that answer the phone when you call to find out about your bill. Everybody that works there is in customer service. We need to improve street light repair. I think those things are all important. I think another area that maybe I can help improve is I'm going to focus on, and I've talked to Commissioner Murguia, Commissioner Walker, and Commissioner Kane about trying to get the payment in lieu of taxes reduced to help reduce your utility bills. And I think that's an area that I really want to emphasize and focus on.
Thank you. Ready?
Mr. Wilson. Same question, sir. In
would
what
you-
2 specific areas do you believe you can make a contribution by being on the BPU board?
Number one, I think we should look into alternative methods of producing energy. I believe that we can look into wind, a thermal, anything that can change. And coal, to me, is just a waste. It hurts the environment, and it just costs too much to produce energy from using coal. I think that it's worth the investment to look into alternative ways of doing that. Also, he mentioned about customer service. I never have really called up there and got anyone. I always get a recording. And I think that they need to do something about that, because there's nothing more frustrating to have a light out and trying to get it fixed, and you got to go through all of this stuff on a recording and not talk to a human person. So I believe that we need to go back to the old ways and just turn things back around and work for the customers that's allowing the company to stay in business. Thank you.
Okay, Norm?
The two areas that haven't been mentioned, I might mention those two areas real quickly, but the areas that I want to focus on are a little bit different. Customer service is a number one issue for me, as well as renewables, and that's the message I had beginning, and it seemed like my opponent has been echoing that, but that's okay. I think it's important that we do that and bring those things to light, renewables and customer service. But also, we need to talk about the fiduciary responsibility of the board. There is a lot of money that goes through that board, through that utility every week. In my area, Stony Point Hunter Glen, of which I was the president, there's 800 homes in there, and those homes probably run $200 a month. So that's just a quick snapshot of what kind of money is there, and that's just one little area. We need to be focused on that money, and we need to be definitely responsible people and have an open and transparency.
Okay, Bob?
Thank you. My first concern would be to reelect me for 4 more years. That's number one. Secondly, I feel like I'm really taking advantage of my comrades here, basically because we have outstanding a $450 million budget. Part of that goes to making sure that we have reliable utility services when we convert from coal to gas. Therefore, that takes another $207 million to convert Quindale plant ongoing. Make sure that we confide into our ratepayers in terms of what they need, try to maintain the rate of hearing at the lowest possible rate. Let me make that clear. Sometimes we are not told the truth about our utilities in terms of what needs to be done. I found out here in the last several weeks we have 10,000 utility experts. This evening I came down to Parallel, I found out that 9,999 are gone, so they left me. Therefore, I'm really saying that what we need to be more proactive, make sure we carry out the mandate. We have ongoing programs that must be addressed according to the budget and not beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next question. We'll go from right to left. We'll start with Mr. Milan. What is your understanding of the BPU strategic plan? What do you agree with? What would you change?
That's kind of a difficult question from my standpoint. Keep in mind, I sat here as a 24-year veteran on this board. There are many things I could say historically, before and after, that made like a lot of sense. But to be honest with you, you got to understand the real purpose of the Board of Public Utilities. Provide quality water, provide electrical demand, on demand, at a reasonable cost. That's essential. Now, to go beyond and try to speculate what needs to be done, there are several areas that need to be addressed. Always, customer service is almost the foremost. You got to understand that customer service have about 12,000 that come in that front door every day. You got to understand that BPU is one of 19 public utilities in the state of Kansas. We are the largest, obviously. Therefore, a lot of entities you need to know about where we're coming from. There are 22,000 public-owned utilities in America. BPU is in the top 100. That you need to know. So I'm here tonight more or less talking about not being reelected. I'm here more or less to give you the state of address for the Board of Public Utilities. That's my charge.
Norm?
One thing I would agree with is that we do have the lowest rate around, and I think that's very good. The things that I would change basically have to do with good business practices. We've got some practices going on at the BPU that quite honestly don't pass the smell test. So those are some of the things that I would be looking into and addressing quickly. The other thing is really looking at alternative energies, renewables. These things are going on all over the world, but more closely to home on I-35 is the IKEA plant. It leaves absolutely zero footprint, totally self-contained. So that's an example right there, close in our backyard, that we can look at and model.
Okay. Freddie?
Yes, thank you again. I too will look into the alternative methods of energy. If you go to, say, through Flint Hills, you just see all those wind towers, and they are producing enough energy to light the city and serve everyone. And it's enough wind here in Wyandotte County anywhere. The state of Kansas has more windmills than any state in the union. And I believe that we could put those along the riverbanks. We could drill if we have to, and get away from buying coal, burning coal. I don't live very far from the Quindaro plant. I stay on 2016 Parkview, which is just on the other side of the cemetery. I can come out and there's ash on my car because when the wind is blowing in that direction, it comes out of those stacks. I used to call them chimney when I worked there, and they said those are stacks, they're not chimneys. But anyway, the smoke comes out of those stacks, and the ash settles all over my house and my yard and my car. The reason I know this is because when I wash my car by hand, as I do, and I learned the old way to do it right. So I just want to say we need to look into that. It seems like a lot of money in the beginning, but the long-term payoff would be worth it, if not for us, at least for our children to come. Thank you.
Chris?
I believe some of the most important strategic planning is going to revolve around the power plant, obviously, and I think the EPA, as they keep changing rules, but I think for the foreseeable future, coal's here to stay because alternative energies, while they are great, there's not enough production to power the United States on wind turbines and other types of alternative fuels. So I think we have to admit that the power plant is here to stay. So we have to plan for maintaining and upgrading the system at the lowest possible cost by planning ahead to do these things. And I think that's the number one issue of strategic planning that we need to look at right now. Thank you.
This will be the last question for BPU candidates.
In your understanding of the BPU budget, what areas do you see as potential cost savings? What would you propose? What would you like to see done in at least one specific area regarding cost savings?
I still have to come back to the payment in lieu of taxes. The ratepayers of the Board of Public Utilities contribute $31 million to the unified government every year in payment in lieu of taxes, and over $20 million of free services that go from the BPU for the unified government's buildings and operations. I think those areas, I think we need to make the city be more energy efficient. If they're getting free bills, they're like everybody else. If you're getting free power, you probably don't pay too much about how long you leave your lights on and where you set your thermostat. So I think those are areas that maybe we can save some money, but we need to get the payment in lieu of taxes reduced. Thank you.
Freddie?
Yes. Well, he couldn't have said it better. I feel the same way about that. That pilot program is definitely not good. And as he said, the city receives their utilities and they don't have to pay. It does make a difference. I'm an ordinary person. I pay my utilities. I make sure that I turn the lights off if I leave out of this room and go upstairs, then I turn the lights off. I think that I disagree with him about the coal. Now, I do want to bring that point home, that coal, I don't care, you will pay more for coal because you're paying for those railroads and trains to deliver it, you're paying to move it into the plants, you're paying to burn it, and then you got the EPA and all of those other things on you about that coal and stuff, the environmental protection people and all of that. So in the long term, like I say, invest now and you enjoy the benefits later. It's kind of like gas cars, you know, before we went to unleaded gas. You know, people said the same thing, it wasn't worth it, but it is worth it, saving the environment. Thank you.
Norm?
I would disagree with my opponent on the need to have constant big generators. Right now, we've got a $250 million upgrade on the Nearman coal-fired power plant. We're all going to get to pay on that for 20 years. At the end of that 20 years, I don't know how much is going to be cleaned up, but we're going to have a whole bunch of coal ash to take care of. That's a hazardous waste. So we're not only trying to deal with emissions, we are also having to deal with the end product of burning coal. This is why that the renewable energies is such an issue. We can do this. The TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, is providing renewable energy to, I think 30%, to 9 million people. 9 million people. This is possible. This is doable. We should do it. We need to do it. Why do we keep spending our money cleaning up coal? Why don't we spend some money building and thinking about the future? Those are the areas that we're going to make an initial investment in, but it's going to pay off in the long run. Somewhere down the road, we're not going to have to clean up coal ash. We're not going to have to put scrubbers in and filters and all that sort of thing. We're going to have renewable stuff every day.
Thank you. Bob?
My goodness, how little do my opponents know? Under CFR Code of Regulations, EPA, Rule 11D, it's mandatory power plants that burn fossil fuel coal must convert to gas or renewables. Like about 4 renewables, in case you don't know: water, hydro, etc. Now, I just left Pleasant Hill, Missouri yesterday at the Dogwood Gas Utility Plant. Clean as a whistle. No ash, no dust. Those coal plants you're talking about, train boxcars coming down, they're being emitted out, be phased out a period of time. The issue here is simple. What we have advocated with EPA every week, including last week, we can ill afford to raise rates a short period of time to meet the requirement of eliminating emission in the air. It takes 3 to 5 years to create a new gas power plant. You gotta pay for it, I gotta pay for it. We're trying to say, give us more time, EPA, so that we can gradually grow into converting from coal to gas. My friends, you need to go and do your homework. Gas is the name of the game, and renewables will be the same. Thank you.
Now the candidates will have 2 minutes for closing remarks, and we will start with Bob. Bob?
Thank you. Well, once again, I feel like I'm here in the position to speak in behalf of the Board of Public Utility. We are a blessed community to have a public-owned utility. You have an opportunity to come on the first and third Wednesday and tell us what you want in terms of your particular bill, and not the next door neighbor. You have opportunity. If we were an IOU, investment-owned utility, you don't have that choice. For example, you got a problem with your gas bill, you talk to somebody on the telephone. I don't know what it would be. I've tried several times. Telephone, the same way. But you have the luxury to come into BPU twice a month. We are not a perfect organization. No one is perfect. I'm trying to tell you, out of 2,000 public-owned utilities, keep in mind, we have water and gas to be concerned with. Water, gas, and coal at this point. So we have an opportunity here to make our community grow, reduce the emotion in the air, we call it pollution in my point of view. That's a quality of life issue, folks. We must get rid of the coal. And keep in mind, Supreme Court 5 years ago, 5-4 vote said, EPA, make these coal power plants come under the Clean Air Act of 2013. That's mandated, and we're gonna do it. Clean Water Act. It's a mandatory, you may not like it, that's reality, folks. Thank you, and call again.
Norm?
My name is Norman Scott, and I am running for the BPU at-large position 3. We not only need to talk about renewable energies, we need to talk about better business practices. Why do we wait until our substations and all our power lines need upgrading 50 to 75 years down the road and want to go borrow $50 million, $100 million? Makes no sense. When you're borrowing money, it costs you more than if you prepared for it. $2 a month, $1.50 a month, I don't think anybody would holler about that. If you did that for 50 years, 75 years, you'd have the money to upgrade. One of my biggest concerns about the BPU, and I haven't heard my opponent mention this yet, but we have a law, it's called the Kansas Open Meetings Act. We need to be aware of that and require that that is a part of our everyday, every time we meet, we need to be a part of that. And I think he probably has some experience with that. So we need to seriously think about the money that the BPU is in debt right now. This $250 million is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of debt there, and we are paying that. So to think that we can reduce that rate, that we can reduce our bills, I don't think it's going to happen. We're too deep in debt.
Okay, thank you. Freddie?
Again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Had it been Monday evening, I'm sure it would have been no problem coming out, but it's raining outside, the weather has changed, and you still came out, so I want to thank everyone. I'm not a man of many words. I don't think I ever get used to talking in front of people, but I'm working on it. I believe in working to get things done, so if it takes doing this, come up here nervous, then I'm willing to do it. Again, I'd like to thank you all, and I'd like to ask you on April the 7th to make that change, because we need to make a change. Thank you.
Chris?
In closing, I'd just like to thank Business West, the community college, and Merle for allowing us to come here tonight. But I believe I'm the best candidate for this job, but I'm not the only one that believes that. I've been endorsed by the Tri-County Labor Council of Eastern Kansas, the Carpenters District Council, and the Laborers Local 1290. But I've also been endorsed by business owners from Kansas City, Kansas. I've been endorsed by Dr. J.J. Swanson, the veterinarian that we all know, by Mike Jacoby, the realtor, the father of consolidation, Eileen Edson of Edson Florist, and Pat Crilly of Commercial Claims. These people have been business owners in this town longer than I have. And they and the trade unions both have supported me, and I think that shows that I'm the bipartisan candidate, and I think I can build a consensus to try to help the BPU move forward. And again, I ask for your support. April 7th, Chris McCord, BPU at-large District Number 3. Thank you.
Let's give the candidates a hand.